Mike Hansen, Texas Dad Lawyer, y'all. It's been a rough start to the Minnesota Vikings season. As you see, we see Jordan Addison's been charged with a misdemeanor DUI. Anybody that's been following this case knows that this was coming. On July 12th, he was found behind the wheel of his Rolls Royce, passed out. There were clear signs that he was under the influence and intoxicated. He was arrested that day, and so it's not a surprise that that case was referred over to the DA's office and that charges were filed. Now, Jordan Addison has fielded some questions on the topic and more or less said he's going to man up to the consequences and he's going to deal with whatever he has to with this case, as well as with what the NFL may do to him. The NFL's policy when it comes to substance abuse and use and infractions with the law is a standard 3-game suspension, which would really hurt the Minnesota Vikings in the start of their season. If y'all will recall, earlier this summer, Kyrie Jackson was killed in a car accident. He was a 4th-round draft pick for the Minnesota Vikings and was going to be a rising star. He was going to be one of our best defensive backs. We had high hopes for him. Unfortunately, he was out late one night with friends and to no fault of his own, a vehicle that was driving excessively and erratically hit his vehicle. He was a passenger in that vehicle and he was killed. Now, that case has been referred over to the DA's office. Law enforcement is working with them, and they've been reviewing it to decide whether charges will be brought against Kyrie Jackson's killer. However, there's no guarantee, and there hasn't been a whole lot of news or transparency on which direction that investigation's going. So we're all sitting tight and waiting to see that individual whose vehicle collided with Kyrie Jackson's will be held accountable. Folks, this is a great moment to remind everyone drinking and driving is never worth the risk that it poses to you and it poses to others. We have so many people that need to traverse our roadways. We have our truck drivers. We have people who are just coming home from long shifts at the hospital. We have people who are trying to drive their families from point A to point B to get their day started early in the morning. We have the early birds who are just trying to go and get a workout early in the morning. And I have seen cases over and over and over again where intoxicated drivers upend the lives of so many, whether that be a severe injury that requires extensive physical care for a long time and changes how somebody's body operates for the rest of their life, what they can and can't do, being paralyzed. And in the worst case scenarios, as was the case possibly in Kyrie Jackson's death, we see individuals who are engaging in conduct that is reckless because their judgment is impaired with the driving. And we see individuals who end up causing the loss of life due to very selfish decisions when it comes to drinking and driving. Please, if you are somebody who's drinking and driving, and especially if you have the means of Jordan Addison or anywhere close to that, use Uber, use Lyft, hire a driver. Have a sober friend that you pay to come out with you that night. There are so many choices that are selfless, choices that will keep you out of trouble, keep you out of the headlines, and will keep everybody safe. Drinking and driving is not okay. We need to stop this culture. Now, Jordan Addison will have to deal with the consequences in one of the lower forms of a misdemeanor, and thank God that it's not a felony where somebody was injured. But remember, if you're ever doing this in the state of Texas and there's a child in the vehicle, it's an automatic felony. If you get to the point where there's 3 or more, it's a felony. And even our misdemeanors, we take very, very seriously because we know that you're always one wrong turn, one wrong choice, not being able to hit the brakes quick enough away from taking the life of another. So do not drink and drive.